all the activity. Okay, 知道了。And all the activities were led by our professional staff, not by the teacher, not by volunteers, not by people from the nature reserve, because it required quite much professional requirement. And we also do the evaluation. We also provide funding for all the publications and all the facilities. And here's the Chinese page. We have the English translation here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 activities altogether in 2 nature reserves in Shenzhen. And at the beginning, we will define the different objectives for a different program, different learning activities. For example, for students in from 10 to 12, they will learn bird watching. We call that stewardship for migrant birds in Shenzhen. And for students under 10 years old, they will have some more focus on experiencing activities because they are not suitable for bird watching at that age. So then we will design a storyline for each activities. For example, in bird stewardship, we will send an invitation letter before the students go to nature reserve about 2 weeks earlier, and said that they are invited to become stewards for wetland for birds in Shenzhen. And at that day, they go to the nature reserve, they will receive a series of tasks. Only when they can finish all the tasks, they will receive a certificate. For that, they will become a former steward for the birds, for local birds. And each activity will has storylines like this. And later we will have an outline of learning process. And the first step is that we have a very detailed teaching manuscript and props for each activities. And after the activities, we will have an assessment plan to evaluate our effectiveness. And then we will have several phases of trial courses. And then we finalize with a small minor adjustment and polishment. During we design the activities, we will depend on the local resource and the facilities we can reach. For example, in our Futian Mangrove Ecological Park, we have an exhibition hall, which we can use a lot for students to know the background of the wetland. And for in the picture in the middle, it's the nature reserve, the real area where we have only a very narrow trail. So that limited our access of a number of people. So every time we will split students into 4 groups, and each group has 20 people, or something like that. And we also analyze our resource on teaching people. We have several professional educators, but that is far from enough. We also needs some teaching assistants and guardians for the safety every time. So we have a group of teachers and also sometimes some parents helping us every time. So that's the pictures that we are doing the trial courses. And yeah, we are trying to train the volunteers to be part-time lecturers, educators, and leaders. And here's the example of how we organize the activities. In the preparation phase, we will send a parcel to the school classroom. Yeah, shows in this picture like that. And the teacher will read them an invitation letter from PP. PP is the nickname for our bird, spoon-billed, black-faced spoon-bill. Yeah, and it's a starbird. And PP said that he is too busy and he's tired. He needs more help. Please, I know that you are smart students, and I know that you are eager to join us. So please come and find us and finish your task. So at the day they go to the nature reserve, they will receive a booklet. It is called the training manual, and in the training manual, they will have different tasks telling them the activities about to happen for today. And they will have a small, each student will have a small pouch. And so they can carry all their pens and booklet and bottles, water bottles. And here's the opening orientation part that we introduce the background of the storyline and the where you are at the heart of the nature reserve, and that is the only place that our PP can stay in Shenzhen currently. And then they will start their journey along the trail, very narrow trail, and they will find the place they have to finish their tasks. After, so it depends. Sometimes the educators, the leaders might lead them to one or three or four tasks. Sometimes if we have enough time, we might finish more. So students might visit more places. And at the end, we will have a sharing and commitment part that the people, students sitting together, sharing what they found today and what they learned, and leave their commitment that they will take care of the local birds, and they will watch for the change of the environment might affect how the birds living in our city. That is an example of one activity. And so here are some of the cases we use in the activities. For example, the booklet and also the pictures we will show to them to let them know what they will see, and some simple knowledge about what is birds and what kind of a habitat suit for migrant birds. And after they leave, we will give them a small book, says that mangrove in Futian area. So it provides more information about wetlands and birds and Shenzhen and our nature reserve. So after that half-day learning, if they want to know more about our local wetland, they will learn more information from that book. Here's a simple road for another activity for finding mangrove. Sorry, the picture is not covered. And after years practice with the program, we were lucky enough to have a team of experts working on the evaluation for us. Dr. Wu Meng from Taiwan helped to assess the effectiveness of this learning. And here shows the way how we do the pre and post test. Before students go to the nature reserve, we will give them a question that what will think if you are going to a nature reserve, especially a mangrove nature reserve, what do you think you will see or what you will meet? So here on the left is the picture that students draw before they visit the site. And after they finish the learning, and 1 week later, normally, we will ask them the same question. What will you see in a mangrove wetland? So you can see it's the two pictures were drawn by the same students, but the content became more diversity and more colorful. For him, the mangrove became more vivid, more alive. So he knows it's obvious that he knows more name, of course, of the plants of the mangrove and name of the bird. He also add more color of the picture. So we have this way to collect students under age 10 because they cannot write properly. And we also have to publish this assessment. It says that not just having fun, experimental learning helped students to know more about nature reserve in Shenzhen, China. So if you are interested, we can send you the link later. I think it was published in October in last month. And so here is the book, and we published by the name of Walking into Mangroves. Yeah, we also have it here. So if anyone you can read Chinese and you are interested, you can find this book online. And it has 5 completed teaching manuscript and tools from the program. It's an instructional tutorial package for teachers and educational programs. And we also hope that it can help other wetlands working on SIPA program, especially with the mangroves. It can be a good case study for others. And it's also a practice that we have been working on to cooperate with the formal education system. And it has been very hard for us. And that's all for my short introduction. So see if anyone has any questions, and I'm happy to provide more information.
Thank you, Huizhe. That was great. Well, yeah, we should have a plot here. And I think for me, it's kind of a pity. When I was in Shenzhen, I have never been involved in a very close distance with your program. So this was also my first time to see the pictures and to hear from you.
Yeah, it was published after you left.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I see. But I know you have been working on this, but very hard time and to organize
for 3 years.
Yeah, the schoolers, especially. So I think I would like to use my privilege here as a host to ask you a very first question. Because we're talking about this. You are a charity or NGO kind of position to help schools, to help students to learn your wetland conservation, but in a way like science education. And also sometimes we think that's an idea of STEM kind of education. So how difficult did you find to work together with the school or teacher, with the school teachers? Sometimes in China we call they're in the system, right? They're not really. I think they have very different tasks from environmental educators. So how do you deal with them, and how do you train them? I would like to hear your experience on that part of it.
Yeah, I think all the schools and teachers, not only in China, maybe probably in Asia, Eastern Asian, or all over the world, teachers are very busy. And especially in China, if anyone familiar with our Asian culture, academic performance is very important, always the number one.
Assignments.
Yeah. So we tried a lot to prove that our program can help students to improve their academic performance, and in many ways. And of course, we know that environmental education can achieve more than that. but that's the way how we should talk with the formal education people. And another one is that if we provide some random activities, it's good. They will see us as good materials to fill in some flexible timetable, but they will not take us seriously as that we can provide a constructed program. And they might just think nature education or environmental education is just playing or leisure or just a tourist for sightseeing, but it's not. So when people go into the nature reserve, I really want them to learn why Shenzhen city can host this green area in the center of in the heart of a city, in the big city, and it costs lots of money. And why we do that? I want them to feel connected with the place, but not something like it's green and it's beautiful and it's fun. Let's go to a shopping mall, something like that. That's all from our organization mission. And so to connect the two needs needs us to know what school needs. They need to educational program to connect with their own curriculum standards. For example, if they have if a teacher from biology, and he or she might want to know how this activity can help my students to know more within my knowledge system. So it's for example, our mangrove wetland became more important for teachers after the one of the curriculum for high school geology published by People's Educational Publishing Press, which is the formal press for all the teaching materials in China. In one class, it had edited one picture of mangrove wetland and says that the mangrove ecosystem reflect how species can fit in different environment. Just this one sentence and one picture. Suddenly we receive many applications to nature research. So it's very important for teachers. Yeah. Right. So I think that's the way that we can think about how we can work with the school. Sometimes we cannot require too much for them. We cannot ask teachers to do outdoor learning. They cannot, which they really cannot do that. But if they are happy to bring the students out to our place, and that is already a success for us.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Speaking of mangoes, we have our friends Gail here from the Bahamas. She's running a professional NGO working on, I think, mainly on mangoes. Can we hear anything from you? Anything new, Gail? Do you have any questions for Huizhe, who is also working a mango conservation foundation far away from you, but I think there are definitely some similarities out there.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, okay. All right. So just to give you some background, EarthCare is an environmental education organization that was formed in 1988. We work with youth and young adults, hopefully trying to teach them how to save the planet. So in 2019, our island was hit by climate change Hurricane Dorian, the strongest storm to hit the Atlantic ever. And it stayed on our island for 3 days. So we had 25-foot high saltwater storm surge, basically a tsunami for 3 days. This drowned our mangrove forests as well as covered and flooded 70% of the island. We lost people, buildings, the mangroves. So Now, 4 years later, EarthCare is working on 3 mangrove restoration projects. We have one for Dover Sound, one for McLeanstown and Sweetings Key, and then our newest project, which EarthCare has partnered with the government, the forestry unit of the government. We're going to be planting November 18th, probably about 3,500 mangrove seedlings around an area, a key called Water Key. It used to have a population, but no one lives there now because all the buildings were destroyed by the storm. And it was a bone fishing destination. So we're going to plant the mangroves there. So hopefully they can, they go on the weekends to build their houses back. They built a church and one house for the pastor, but all the other buildings need to be fixed or built again. So we're hoping to help them grow their mangroves back. And so, but EarthCare's been planting mangroves since we started in 1988. We would do mangrove plantings as an education exercise for our students. So we would take them out into the wetlands and they would have fun getting muddy and everyone screaming and just planting mangroves. So, but now because of the climate change hurricane, we're doing it in earnest as a way to, well, our goal is to plant 1 million seedlings in the next 3 years. So far, we are I think we've done over 50,000 last year, and the work continues this year. But we've worked with the Mangrove Action Project. Dominic Wodehouse lives in the Philippines. He comes, as well as some of his team members are from the UK. We've had them 3 times now come and do trainings with all the volunteers, teaching them why we're planting mangroves, how to plant them successfully, because many plantings fail. So he's taught us how to do it correctly. And then we also work with Martin Keeley, who is their Mangrove Action Project's education person. He writes mangrove curricula for schools around the world. He will go and work with teachers and schools and teach them anything you want to learn about mangroves. So we've had him here several times as well. And we had him here one year just to train the teachers. We brought him just to work with our teachers. So that's basically what we're doing with the mangroves. And then we're also working on the climate crisis. We did a public town meeting in October for talking about Vice President Al Gore's climate crisis, Truth in 10 solutions, as well as in World Ocean Day. We did, we have a grant called Constructive Visions. Constructive Visions is a book, a fictional account written by over 50 National Geographic explorers. And before the book was published, they asked 70 educational organizations around the world to read the chapters with the students. So we gave a survey similar to what you're doing with this project. We gave a survey before we started reading the book, and then a final survey afterwards to see if, after reading the chapters with the students over the 4 months, if their anxiety level about the future is any less, because we're trying to give them hope. So we cleaned the mangroves in February for World Wetlands Day, as well as did kayaking through the healthy mangroves that there are some left over. And we read the ocean chapter from the book. But it's really, really been an exercise in community engagement. And I know this class is on eSTEM. So when we have the community come out to do the volunteering for the planting of the mangroves, we try to educate them at the same time. So we're trying to give them some eSTEM education while we have them, because we don't know how long we'll have them for, or if they'll come back. That's about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gail. Just really happy to hear from your sharing. Every time I found myself learned something new from you.
Oh,
Sure.
thank you, Fish.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think we have a good time here. We have about 15 minutes. So I would like to open the floor to hear people's comments or questions or anything related to what you have been doing. So yeah, just please raise your hand, let us know, or you can just unmute yourself, and then we can have some interesting discussion here with Huizhe. Um, is anyone interested? Just please unmute yourself. It seems people are all looking at your complicated charts. It definitely gave us lots of information about evaluation part. Uh, I also remember Huizhe, you and MCF were actually among the very few in China who are actually working on the evaluation of environmental education. That was a very interesting area that people rarely spend money or time to work on. But you do, I know you definitely did lots of stuff on that part. Do you have any interesting result to share with us, or any specific experience upon that? I would love to hear from you.
Thank you for the chance for us to tell people about our work on evaluation, because to be frank, not many of us educators in environmental education or nature education uh, think evaluation is important, but it is, especially when we're working with a formal education system. And I know that Hong Kong MIPO, they have run a school program for more than 10 years. And I think since for last 3 years, they also initiated an evaluation program by their team. I think evaluation is important that for us, that we know that our work working on the right path, and for others to understand the meaning and the value of our activities. But it really not very easy to process. It needs help from a professional expert, and it sometimes it also requires money support. But as advice, I think if we are not able to do a systematic evaluation, and at least let's start with the one thing that we design our activities, short activities, or a short lecture, or a more complicated activity, or a learning program, that at the first beginning we start with the defining our educational objectives. It's very important. Without clear objectives, we cannot evaluate, and we cannot assess our achievement. So that's the first step, that we should have very clear defined objectives. And we can use the tools based on environmental education for 5 goals, and which very practical, even still until now. And one day when we have collected enough data and information, maybe we can run an evaluation program. And it's also a good chance to improve our learning program. So, and anyone who are interested in evaluation or want to discuss with us about how we can practice evaluation in our daily educational activities, and please welcome contact us. And I'm very eager to know more partners and educators and experts doing evaluation work in this area.
Thank you, Huizhe. Thank you for the short answer for a very big complicated questions. I think people are from very different areas in among our participants. I just quickly went through our chat. I'm looking for some kind of interesting questions here. There are really some interesting texts here. I think one from David who's asking, have you ever thought about, basically the question is using the local species in the relation with mangoes to be part of your study program, rather than only looking at the wetland itself as general, or the mango of the trees, but also into the ecosystem. Is there a kind of space for us to do a sort of more detailed types of project-based learning like that? I wonder if the question is just like that. I mean, yeah, he mentioned a specific, for example, tropic fish as a species. Is that kind of idea really practical to what you do? I know you have been doing lots of stuff already, but there are definitely very kind of small things in the ecosystem can be used for your program. Is that correct? Yeah, we see the kids on the ground. Wow. You can unmute yourself and. Huizhe, you're muted.
Are you requesting me to unmute myself or another
No,
participant?
I'm asking, actually, yeah, David, if you can repeat your question yourself, that'd be great. And Huizhe can answer or have a discussion with you.
It sounds like you're doing some studies in the mangroves and trying to assess changes that are occurring. Some of those changes, it is possible that some people would want to discuss the benefits, and the inclusion of their thoughts could be of some help. A potential benefit would be possibly an increase in the proliferation of tropical fish in areas, and there could be an opportunity for ongoing growth in studies in those areas. I thought something that might be worth consideration.
Mm-hmm. Huizhe, you have any feedback on that? I know that's kind of a very specific question.
Yeah,
because
it's very a good thought and advice. But currently, based on the local nature resource, we focus more on wetland ecosystem and migratory birds. We don't have much fish resource in Shenzhen Bay because the water are deeply polluted for last decades. And so maybe in the future, if we can find more interesting educational topics, and I'm very happy to working on this area.
You may also, in
Yeah.
connection with what you just stated, Cornell University appears to be in water analysis as far as growth in the area of PFAS studies, and that is something that you may in your area consider. And the resources and the capability of assistance with Cornell appears to be rather impressive.
Oh, great! Can you type on the name of the project you just mentioned, and I can look into that.
It's not necessary to take up course time with this. You may want to contact some of the people in the environmental department at Cornell, and I'm very confident they will be able to provide additional assistance.
Oh, great!
Regarding water quality. Yeah. Your concern was water.
Yeah, water is very important, but and to be frank, that yes, we hasn't done much on water studies so far, and it's a great topic that we like to develop more programs about water, and also carbon emission and blue carbon, especially blue carbon in mangrove wetlands, and we will expand our subject in the future.
Yeah. Thank you for the information, David. And yeah, I would like to see this kind of discussion and exchange between different resources and different kind of areas of knowledge. Sometimes we find it's only one single small area, but there's so rich contents that we can discover. Hopefully together with our educators and students. I would like to say also, I don't know, Huizhe, in the past few years, have you ever thought of, is it possible to actually empower the students to run their own project, to to do some sort of scientific discovery, instead of just repeat your kind of curriculum? I know also educators if you do the same course over and over again. Is that possible to do that in Shenzhen? You said students and teachers are so busy. I pretty much share the knowledge of the background engineering.
Yes, because STEAM program are also very popular in China formal education system. So nowadays, many teachers in schools they will organize small students teams to develop their own science project or other kind of a social experience, and they see us as a resource, nature resource or social resource to support their research, and we always provide them our support. And yes, and we support the students with professional information about biology and our ecosystem. And we did have a plan before the pandemic that we want to initiate a small kind of a competition about science project. But it ceased 3 years, and I think we will see in the future. We might have more such a small project based on student research teams, and we are very much looking forward to it. Because for the last 3 years, students are very hard to go outside and to have to organize outdoor activities.
Thank you. I think there's a question from Hadi. Hadi, are you there? Can you perhaps repeat yourself for the question?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for presentation. I really enjoyed. I just put in the chat. My question is, this kind of wetland and training for the same, they provide a good opportunity for trainer to just have level more about the tourism stuff. That's so important. And of course, I don't know how they just cover this kind of issue and this kind of opportunity in the training.
Yeah, we can't kind of hear you very limitedly, but I can repeat the past from the chat. I think it's about the tourism.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Now I can hear you much better.
I'm a little cold. Sorry. Maybe you can. Yeah. Well, I have a little. I got a cold. This is why you can hear me well. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. Thank you, Hadi. I think your question. Huizhe, did you hear the question? I think it's about how you cover tourism issue within the wetland in your ESTEM training. I think the background was about the tourism. It is true in Shenzhen, the wetland you work on is a very popular place for visitors and also for the local citizens. What's the challenging there? Thanks, Hadi, for the great question.
Okay, it's yeah, it's a great question, and actually the tourism is organized by another local authority, and it's different from the bureau in charge of the nature reserves. And for nature reserve and the eco parks we working on, we think more about the social impact. So all the students participated in our program, they do not need to pay. They are free to join the activities, and the costs were paid by different sectors, by the educational system, by our fund, by the Futian Science Society. So talking about the business side, I don't think we have such experience from this program, but I agree that it's become more and more important for nature reserves, especially not in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a city that people do not want to develop a tourist program in nature reserve. For example, the Futian Nature Reserve, they have a limitation of access for each day by 180 people only. So it means that if they agree that they have 100 students interested today for the learning activities, it means that other visitors, they might have to wait for next week. So that's the choices the nature reserve made. They think students and school programs are more important. But it's not all the same by the nature reserves. I know that some other mangrove nature reserves, not in Shenzhen, they think tourists are very much important. And they think it's the way that they can improve the local communities' livings. And it's the way that people can learn more about nature and about their nature resource in a more sustainable ways. So it's quite different. And from our experience in Shenzhen, we might not be able to provide too much advice, but I see in near future, there will be more and more wetlands, especially in those places, not in coastal areas. They will develop more, not educational program, more like leisure activities or ecotourism programs for local visitors.
Thank you. It's very interesting. Yes, I think the people are doing different strategies, applying different strategies with the same kind of questions in really different places around the world, even the country. Thank you. I think the time for the English lecture webinar is up, so we have to stop here. I would like to thank Huizhe again for this very interesting and great presentation. And I would like to stop recording for now.